and more towards the sense of believing that AIs have come to life to a certain degree. We humans have a very high tendency for anthropomorphization. There was this Google developer that was of the very sincere belief that the Lambda system had become sentient.
Yeah.
And as we move towards more and more systems that are capable of, to a certain degree, even persuading human beings that they are sentient and they're conscious, we are facing a question of, as developers, of course, we are aware that these systems are in no way whatsoever conscious, but how do we communicate that to humans and our over tendency to believe that things that are not necessarily alive are alive?
Yeah. So I think, in my opinion, science fiction maybe have contributed a lot, right, to this idea that we have like an AI system. Even sometimes I'm even a bit like skeptical of even the term AI, because I know it's used because it's a catchy term, but we don't really have AI right now as we think of general intelligence, right? Like all the AI systems are more like narrow and used in very specific sectors. So of course, like in this sense, like movies like Terminator or like other science fiction books and movies have, in that sense, harmed a lot, I would say, the population perspective, because they have made it very grandiose and very much like making people maybe more scared. Maybe some people also made them more curious, but I would say that when you talk with general population, I would say like it makes them maybe more scared in that sense. And I would say that, that's quite sad, because what we should promote instead is like this education idea on understanding what are the current AI systems that we are doing, what could we have done so far, and as we were mentioning before, like the impacts that are already causing, the effects, what's good, what's bad, what can go wrong, for example, with these systems. I think that, like as you were mentioning, this tendency to anthropomorphize is unfortunately quite common. And I think we are far from that, because, even in, for example, ChatGPT, like we cannot really say that ChatGPT, for example, really understands as a human does. Like it collects very good data and it makes very good sense of this. But the idea of understanding, it's a quite complex cognitive process that I would say that this system is like not really doing that. And there's like quite many examples that you can see that the system is not really understanding in that sense. It has a more like maybe superficial, at least at this stage now. I don't know, I cannot really talk about what will happen in 10, 20 years. I don't really know, but at the current stages now, I would say that we are a bit far away from having conscious systems.
That's I think the part that's so interesting about it is that we are far from having any sort of general intelligence AI. And yet, even from the 60s, the ELIZA system, that was one of the first chatbots in the world, if we call it that, made people believe that it had some sort of a consciousness. So don't you think that there is a slight concern that people start believing these AIs, as you mentioned, many call them parrots, basically, because they make some sort of a mashup of different words that make complete sense, but in reality are not in any way understanding what they are saying is. They just make words that make sense to us.
Yeah, I think that, for example, through education and critical thinking, that could be at least help to make people more conscious about what those systems are and what can they accomplish, and maybe even the systems themselves, like for example this ChatGPT, like maybe perhaps like show like warning messages.
I think ChatGPT is relatively better compared to most systems, chatbots to that. But what we're coming to is basically the education system in the whole world needs to change and adapt to teaching people more about AI.
I think so. Because I would say probably many education systems are still like not really much up to date with current technologies. Like technologies go faster. The same thing with laws, right? Like that technology always goes a bit faster than the law. But with education, I think like it wouldn't be that complicated to already have that from, as I was saying, like from already like maybe late primary school, and to start talking about the systems. I know, for example, there's this course by, I think it's like Helsinki University, called The Elements of AI, which is a course that is designed for the general population to learn about AI. So there's already like some initiatives that are taking place on regarding this. The only thing is that I don't know if governments would be up to making this as a more for everyone, but I believe they should have that.